You ever feel like we're just constantly in meetings? Like it's just meeting after meeting after meeting.
Oh, tell me about it.
It can be so overwhelming, right?
Mhm.
Like I feel like I spend half my life just sitting in meetings, and so many of them, well, they're not exactly productive.
Yeah. You're not wrong about that.
But hey, we're all about finding solutions here, right? And the good news is you don't have to be the boss to make meetings better.
You can absolutely make a difference no matter where you sit at the table.
That's exactly what today's deep dive is about. We're going to be looking at some really cool ideas from this book I found called This Meeting Sucks. It's got this really interesting, kind of a radical idea, actually. It
Oh.
says, what if the key to better meetings isn't just about the leader, but about empowering every single person in the room?
That's an interesting take.
I know, right? It's like flipping the script on how we usually think about meetings. And to make things even more intriguing, this book introduces these 12 acts of courage to help us unlock better meetings.
12 acts of courage. I've never heard of that.
Me neither before I read this book. But it's like they're giving us these tools, these superpowers, to transform those meetings from, soul-sucking time wasters into something, well, dare I say, enjoyable.
Oh, that would be a welcome change for sure.
But before we get all excited about the solutions, we have to acknowledge the problem, right?
Right.
And this book doesn't shy away from it. It talks about how we're all caught up in this information age race, this constant pressure to keep up, and the crazy reliance on virtual communication, which, can actually lead to feelings of isolation, would you say?
Absolutely. It's like we're expected to be on all the time, even when we're not physically in the same room. And yeah, those back-to-back virtual meetings, while sometimes necessary, can definitely make you feel disconnected.
I feel you. It's like this weird paradox, right? We have all this amazing technology to connect with people, but sometimes it feels like it's doing the opposite.
Yeah.
But okay, back to meetings. Why are so many meetings just not working? I mean, you'd think with all the tech and tools we have, we'd have figured this out by now.
You would think so, but according to this book, there are 3 core reasons meetings tend to go off the rails.
Oh, let's hear them. Hit me with those reasons.
All right, number 1. We often underestimate how complex group dynamics can be. It's like assuming that just because you have a bunch of talented people in a room, they'll magically work together like a well-oiled machine.
Oh, that's so true.
Oh.
It's like thinking a group of amazing musicians will automatically create a beautiful symphony,
Yeah,
without any practice or a conductor.
exactly. You need someone to guide the process, to harmonize those individual talents. Okay, reason number 2. We're often missing those essential facilitation skills.
Yeah, not everyone's a natural-born meeting leader, right?
Right. Leading a good meeting, it's a skill, an art that requires practice and a deep understanding of how groups work. And unfortunately, it's not something that's taught or emphasized enough.
It's definitely not something you just pick up overnight.
And then, because of those first 2 points, the complexity of groups and the lack of good facilitation, well, that's where reason number 3 comes in. People fall into these dysfunctional patterns.
Like bad habits.
Exactly. They get stuck in a rut, repeating the same unproductive behaviors meeting after meeting.
So you're saying focusing just on the leader to fix meetings might not be the answer.
Well, that's what this book is suggesting. Maybe the real key is empowering everyone in the meeting, not just the leader.
It's like giving everyone a voice, a chance to shape the experience. Now, that's a perspective I haven't heard before. Which brings us back to those 12 acts of courage. What are they exactly, and how can they help us break free from those bad meeting habits you were talking about?
Think of them as like a framework, a set of guidelines for anyone, no matter their role, to take control of their meeting experiences and contribute to making things better. These acts, they encourage you to be proactive, to be self-aware, and to collaborate.
Okay, I'm getting more and more intrigued. So let's get into some specifics, shall we?
Welcome back. It's pretty amazing how just making little changes, in how we think about meetings and how we act in them can actually make them, way better.
You know what's been standing out to me? It's this whole idea of personal responsibility.
Yeah.
Like taking charge, even if you're not the one running the show.
Exactly. You don't have to wait for permission to make things better.
I love that. And it seems like a lot of these acts of courage we haven't talked about yet really push that idea even further. Like Act 2, ask for it, and Act 3, prepare for it. They're both about taking initiative before you even get to the meeting.
Oh, absolutely. It's all about getting clear on the meeting's purpose and your role in it beforehand.
So let's break those down a bit, starting with Act 2, ask for it. So is this like, walking into your boss's office and demanding a raise?
Uh-huh. Well, maybe if the meeting's about your performance review. But no, generally speaking, ask for it means getting more information before the meeting even happens.
So like if the invitation's vague or the agenda doesn't make sense, we should reach out to the organizer and ask for more details.
Exactly. Don't be shy about asking questions. What are the goals? What's my role supposed to be? Are there any materials I should look at beforehand?
That makes a lot of sense. It's like instead of showing up feeling lost and confused, you can actually prepare yourself and make sure you're ready to contribute.
Right. And the cool thing is, when you ask those questions, it can also help the organizer get more organized too.
So it's like a win-win. You're helping yourself and nudging the whole meeting in a better direction.
It's about raising the bar for everyone.
I like it. Okay, now let's talk about Act 3. Prepare for it. I have to admit, sometimes this one feels like a bit of a chore. I mean, who has time to do extra work for every meeting?
I totally get that. And to be honest, the book gets that too. But it tries to change how we view preparation, to see it as an investment.
An investment. I'm not sure I follow.
Okay, picture this. You walk into a meeting and you've already gone over the agenda, you're familiar with the topics, maybe you even have some questions or ideas ready to share.
Okay, yeah, I can see how that would make me feel more prepared, more confident.
Exactly. And when you feel confident, you're more likely to participate, which makes the whole meeting more productive for everyone.
It's like shifting from just being there to actually being a part of it.
It's a total game changer.
I never thought about meeting preparation as a kind of leadership, but it makes sense when you put it that way. It's about taking ownership.
Absolutely. And you're also showing respect for everyone's time by coming prepared.
Okay, so we've talked about saying no, adjusting our attitude, and being prepared. What other cool stuff is hidden in these 12 acts? I'm kind of intrigued by Act 7. Park it. Sounds like a parking lot for ideas.
That's a pretty good analogy, actually. Park It is all about dealing with those random ideas that come up in meetings that aren't really related to the topic.
Oh, you mean those brilliant ideas that take the whole conversation off track?
Yep, those are the ones. We've all been there, right? Someone brings up something interesting but totally irrelevant, and the next thing you know, the whole meeting's gone off on a tangent.
And an hour later, you've gotten nowhere. So how does Park It help with that?
Basically, you create a space, either a physical one like a whiteboard or a virtual one like a shared document, where you can capture those off-topic ideas.
So instead of just letting them derail the meeting, you acknowledge them and then set them aside for later.
Exactly. It's a way to validate the person who shared the idea without letting it hijack the meeting.
That's a great idea, and it makes everyone feel like their contributions matter, even if they're not perfectly on topic.
It's about creating a more inclusive environment.
Love it. Okay, what about Act 8, Contain It? Sounds a little bit intense, like we're trying to wrangle a wild animal.
Well, in a way we are, but the wild animal here is all the chaos that can happen in meetings.
Oh yeah, I've been in those meetings where everyone's talking over each other, going off on tangents, and the person leading has totally lost control.
Contain It is all about setting some ground rules to keep things, productive and respectful.
So it's like setting boundaries to make sure everyone can contribute and be heard.
Exactly. Things like listening to each other, not interrupting, and sticking to the topic.
It's about creating a shared understanding of how we're going to work together.
And the book suggests setting these ground rules right at the beginning of the meeting so everyone's on the same page from the start.
I'm noticing how a lot of these acts build on each other. We start by saying no to unnecessary meetings. Then we prepare ourselves so we can actually participate. And then we create this structure with ground rules to make sure everyone's contributions are valued.
That's a great observation. It's like we're building this foundation for a meeting culture that's actually, collaborative and gets things done.
And it's all about individual empowerment within the group.
Exactly. Everyone has a role to play. Which brings us to another act that's all about bridging the gap between talking about things and actually doing things.
You mean Act 9X, deliver it. I'm so glad you brought that up because it seems like so many meetings are all talk and no action.
It's a common problem, for sure. But deliver it is about making sure that the decisions we make in meetings actually turn into, concrete actions.
So it's not enough to just brainstorm and have great ideas. We actually have to, do something with them.
Exactly. And the book says that even as participants, we can help make this happen. We can use language that focuses on action and accountability.
So instead of saying, we should do this, we might say, okay, who's going to take care of this and when will it be done?
Exactly. It's about making sure everyone knows what they're responsible for and that things actually get done.
It's like holding each other accountable, but in a positive way.
Right. And when you have that focus on action, it creates this energy, this momentum that keeps everyone moving forward.
So it's about shifting from a culture of talking to a culture of doing.
Hmm.
I love it. We've covered so much ground already, but we still have 3 more acts to go. And they seem to dive even deeper into, like, the psychology of groups and how to really collaborate effectively.
I know, it's exciting stuff. But I think we should save those last three for our next segment. They deserve their own time and attention.
You're right. It's important not to rush these ideas. So, to our listeners, stay tuned for the final part of our deep dive. We'll be back soon to explore those last 3 acts of courage and wrap up this conversation about making meetings matter. Okay, so we're back, and I gotta say, after going through all these acts of courage, I'm starting to see meetings in a whole new way.
It's pretty amazing how these seemingly small things, like just changing how you think about meetings, can totally change the experience, right?
Totally. And we still have a few more of these acts to unpack.
Yep, 3 more to go.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's dive into Act X1. Facilitate it. Now, usually when I hear facilitate, I think of the person leading the meeting, the one in charge. But this act says we can all be facilitators, even if we're not the designated leader.
Exactly. It's about making sure everyone feels comfortable, chiming in, sharing their ideas, making the meeting a real conversation.
So it's like we're all responsible for making the meeting work well, not just the person at the front of the room.
Exactly. The book suggests using things like active listening, asking good questions, and really making an effort to hear from everyone, even the quieter folks.
I like that because not everyone's comfortable speaking up.
Yeah.
And some people need a little encouragement.
No, totally. As participants, we can help create that space where everyone feels safe to share.
So how do we actually do that? How can we be facilitators even when we're not leading the meeting?
Well, one thing you can do is just notice who's been talking and who hasn't. If someone's been quiet, you can gently invite them in, something like, hey, person's name, I'd love to get your take on this.
That's a great idea. It's about being aware and making sure everyone has a chance to contribute.
Another thing that helps is asking open-ended questions. The kind that encourages people to share more than just a yes or no answer, like, what are some challenges you see with this idea? Or what are some other ways we could approach this?
Those kinds of questions really get people thinking and sharing their perspectives.
Definitely. And remember, listening is just as important as talking. When someone's sharing, give them your full attention. Make eye contact, really trying to understand their point of view.
It's about creating that feeling of respect and safety so that everyone feels comfortable being honest and sharing their ideas.
Exactly. When you have that kind of atmosphere, that's when the magic happens.
I'm realizing facilitate it isn't just about having a smooth meeting. It's about creating a culture where everyone feels valued and can do their best work together.
It's about collaboration, not just going through the motions.
Okay, on to our last act of courage. This is Act 12. It's all good. This one seems a little counterintuitive, especially when we're talking about meetings. They can be pretty stressful, right?
I know, right? Not every meeting is a walk in the park. But this act is all about how we approach those tough moments, especially when there's conflict.
Wait, so you're telling me conflict can be a good thing? I thought the goal was to avoid it like the plague.
Well, it depends. The book talks about the difference between healthy conflict and unhealthy conflict. Healthy conflict is about finding the best solution. It's about the ideas, not the people.
So it's okay to disagree with someone's idea as long as you're not attacking them personally.
Exactly. It's about being curious about other people's perspectives and working together to find the best path forward.
So it's like shifting from seeing conflict as a bad thing to seeing it as an opportunity to learn and grow.
Right. And it takes courage to do that because it means speaking up, even when it feels a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, especially in a work setting where sometimes it feels like you're supposed to just go along with everything.
But think about it. Real innovation, real progress often comes from those moments of healthy disagreement. When people are willing to challenge each other and think outside the box.
So those tough conversations, those moments of friction can actually lead to something better.
Exactly. Of course, for that to happen, there has to be trust and a sense of safety in the group.
Right. You need to know that you can speak your mind without being judged or punished for it.
And that's where all these acts of courage come full circle, when we practice those other acts, like saying no, preparing ourselves, being good facilitators, all of those things, we build that foundation of trust and respect that allows for healthy conflict.
It's like we're creating a space where we can really work together and achieve something great. This has been such a great exploration of these 12 acts of courage. I feel like we've discovered so many practical tools, so many new ways to think about meetings, you know, to turn them into something we actually look forward to instead of dreading.
Absolutely. It's about taking control and making those meetings work for you, not the other way around.
Well said. And to our listeners, we'll leave you with this question from the book. What is your experience facilitating a group as a participant?
It's something to think about. How can you bring more courage and collaboration to your next meeting, even if you're not the one officially leading it?
Think about those times when you've spoken up, when you've challenged an idea, or helped the group stay focused.
Remember, even small acts of courage can make a big difference.
And you have the power to make those meetings matter.
Until next time, be that meeting hero.
And we'll see you on our next Deep Dive.